So I've sped this up 4 times, so it's pretty fast. I'm using a variety of Distress Oxide colors in the pink range, and it doesn't really matter which pinks you use. I'm not going to use the peach one until probably the very end. And then I'm using the packaging method. Keep my hands clean, and then you get a pretty nice mottled effect. So at this point I'm doing one color at a time, adding a little spritz of water to thin it out, and then just trying to layer those colors on. I did start with the lightest color and then move to the medium color, and then I'm going to try a little bit of the red. I didn't want to use black on it yet. I'm going to try this speckled, I think it's called speckled egg. It's kind of a, a robin's egg blue color with a little bit of gray in it. So it's pretty nice. It comes out looking pretty gray next to the reds. Then I'm going to make a mistake and try the red. And even though I'm using the packaging technique, you'll see it comes out looking a little bit like blood splatter, which I wasn't very pleased with. So I've always heard people say that if you don't like the look and you're not happy with it, just keep going, add more, and see what happens. So I'm like, well, the blood's probably not appropriate for Valentine's Day. So adding some more of the lighter pink on top. And I'll put down in the description the exact colors that I used. And then I start mixing the colors. So let's mix those together to get yet another color and get a little more coverage. And that seemed to be working pretty well. So did that several times. And then I added a little bit of red to make it a little darker. And then I really liked that color. And I'm trying to make sure I get coverage, since I'm going to be cutting these into individual tags, that it's not just in the middle. You can see I'm working on a couple of the corners and the edges to make sure that those have good coverage. And then wipe the bottom, and pretty much done, using my microfiber cloth to clean it up. I had looked at the paper to see if it sort of matched the paper. In the end, I end up not using the paper at all, but that's okay. So here I wanted some gray splatters. So I mixed the black soot and the blue to see if I could get a little bit of darker gray in there. I still didn't want solid black. And those look a little, line-ish, but once you cut it up into the individual tags, you're not going to notice. You have to remember this is going to be cut up into smaller pieces. So here's where I add some of the peachy color, the coral color, and trying to get a little more and putting that on top. The nice thing about the Distress Oxides is they do sort of sit on top of each other, and so you can get a pretty good layering effect. So I'm getting happier with this as it compares with the paper that I end up not using at all. So I'm going to make a little bit more of that color. And it's pretty fun to mix and match these colors and then come up with new colors. So here I'm going to try and get some splatters on here. Need it to be a little thinner. Adding water helps. And I probably need to get myself a fan brush to do this with, because I think it would come out a little bit better. I'm splattering everywhere but on the paper, I think, at this stage. So I'm almost done with this level. Here I'm just adding in a few little splotches to areas that I think need it. we'll move on to the next phase. I'm just cleaning up with a spare piece of paper. Maybe I can do some cutouts with that or something, so as not to waste the good color ink. All right, so here, slowed back down, making sure it's flat, and we'll come back with the next stage. So I've sped this up about 3 times the speed, and here I'm just picking these different stamps and placing them in different locations. Again, just so each card looks a little bit unique. So just playing around with that. And doing this so that I can, instead of tackling one at a time, I can sort of hit all of them at once instead of hemming and hawing over each and every tag. So I'm just using a block rather than my my big stamp platform, just because I'm not concerned about getting a really good image on everything. I'm just going for that little bit of a messy, shabby look where it's going off the edges, and if it's not perfect, it's not perfect. Who cares? So I'll just go through each one and do some different stamps. Excuse my head going into the frame. And I really need to get a better tripod for my camera so that it can be over my table and not here to the side where it gets crooked when I bump into it. Got a long way to go on my video making skills, but I'm having fun. This one has a saying that says it's not something about creating your own future, which I really liked that sentiment. And an Eiffel Tower, always happy to have an Eiffel Tower on my papers. So just finishing up. I do actually come back through and add some more stamping, and I'm not sure that I videotaped that, but I realized that I really only had maybe one, maybe two stamps on each. So I took the corners of some of the stamps and added some more sort of messiness to it. Now, these are some borders that I'm going to add to some of them just to create definition. I think I do it across the bottom on one of them. And use different tags or different stamps on each one. So they're coming together. This is sort of the look that I had in mind, and now it's time for some templates. So I'm using the Nuvo drops and then just a spreader from, I think I'm using my Simon Hurley spreader. You can do this with lunar paste as well. I've done that before. But the lunar paste colors that I have are pretty bright, so I wanted something a little more muted, and so these Nuvo drops are also a little clear, but they're providing some texture, a little extra color. I really kind of enjoy doing that with the Nuvo drops in these templates. And I'm doing it in different locations on each card, wherever I think it might need a little extra texture. I use this color of Nuvo drops a lot. I'm going to have to get some more pink Nuvo drops. This one is not crystallized or anything like that, but it does provide a really nice shine. So I'm happy with how that's coming out on each of them. And then I think I decided to use the scrapbook.com drops, which are less transparent and a slightly lighter pink. So here you can see I'm getting that out, this lighter pink. I'm playing with that on a couple of them. So it's a really easy method, and you can feel like you're doing some cool multimedia things. All right, so almost done. Doing a little cleanup. I'm just cleaning up with water, which is fine to do if you catch it while it's still wet. Now that one I decided I had done like the Simon Hurley color, and I decided it was a little too bright, so I was trying to tone that down with the leftover medium. All right, so here I'm almost finished, and I'm doing, so let me speed this part up also. So I've sped this up 3 times speed. I'm almost finished. I added some ephemera that I found. Some of it is Heidi Swap that I just got in her mystery bag. So I added a couple of those, and the other little pieces are from a Tim Holtz travel ephemera piece. Here I'm trying to figure out how to get the little easels on the back, the little stands on the back, and they were a little bit short, and so to make it look prettier, I decided I would glue the remaining strip from the original 8.5 by 11. Here I'm wondering if I might need to add ribbon, which I end up not having to do. They stand up really well on their own. So I'm just going to glue, using my art glitter glue, I'm going to glue these little strips onto the top just to make it tall enough, and then I will cut those after I'm finished with that process. I will cut those in my tag maker so that I can then glue the top of the tag to each of the top of the back of the tag to each of the tags. So I'm going to probably cut here to where this process is finished. So now I'm just going to glue those tabs on the top of the tags. I'm just trying to save paper here and use those scraps that I made. So this is inserting them into the tag maker. And then the next step, and I touched my phone and so it just twisted some more. I'm going to score the back side just under the colored part of the tag so that it will make a little stand for the tags. Pretty easy process. And these are the ones that I colored the edges because the edges are a little wider than on those skinny tags. So that's what I'm doing for those skinny tags, and I didn't have to do the top for that. So these are my sort of mistake cards since, and they're just going to my mom and I, so I don't care. A few finishing touches with some ink, to, just in case they show from the back side. gluing them together, and let's see if it's going to stand up the way I envisioned. So there we go. Ta-da! Standing little name tag. Now these do not have the names on them yet. I'll do that in the next process. Here I'm trying to figure out what I want the ribbons to look like. The first one I did was a little too much. Didn't love it. I tried to use the embroidery thread on there as well, sticking up through it, and it was just too different. So I end up pulling that out. Here I'm trying to fray the edges. I just wasn't happy with the look of it. So I end up pulling that out. I just realized after videotaping this that I hadn't had my light on. So sorry about that flashiness. Oh, you can see my dogs under the table. That's fun. Anyway, still not happy with it. Pulling out those extra tags and just leaving the ribbons in there. And I ended up just using the pink ribbon on most of them. I didn't undo this one, but I wasn't super happy with it. See me futzing with it. Trying to get it to look like the way I want it to look. All right. So then I finish this up. Looking at different ways of sticking the ribbons in, what I want it to look like. Y'all, it's a challenge to always remember which way these have to go in to make it look correctly, and I always do it the wrong way first. But again, crafting in the real world and all my imperfections. Oh, look, the knot's on the wrong side. Try again from the back. And I finally get that to look at least close to the way I would like. Now this one of these ribbons that I'm using is so old. The only bad thing about it is it's only one-sided, so it doesn't look great on the inside. And that's why I end up just using this pink satin ribbon for the rest of them, and then just tying it with a little bit of floss. And there we go. They're all pretty much finished. I do end up doing a few Nuvo drops and things like that on them after this process, but I'm pretty pleased with them. Oh, this is also before I put the names on them. So let's see, I think I have a still shot with everybody's names, and I'll see if I can make that the thumbnail for this. I did take a picture of them. So thank you guys for watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Subscribing is always free. I'm really looking to grow my channel and reach more people and get more ideas and input from folks. So feel free to comment if you liked this little non-traditional Valentine's card craft. I'm pretty pleased with the way they come out, and I can't wait for dinner tonight. Thanks, you guys.